Welcome to it, sports fans. There was a little audio thing there. Well, welcome to it. It is Monday. I am MKT. That is Gareth Cliff. This is the MKT Show. Welcome to it. Let's get going. I hope you had a great weekend. Great weekend of sports. So rugby is back. Now if you're a South African, it's the right time to be alive right now. Summer's in. Today was 35 degrees in Johannesburg. I understand in Cape Town, guys had to go home and get jackets in the middle of the morning. It is freezing down there. If you're in Africa, that is a wild time. September and you need a jacket. Cape Town, earthquakes. I mean, it's jackets, it's winter. What is going on down there? Wild times. Johannesburg, all good. All good in my world. Great sunshine with 30 to 35 degrees today. Not a breath of wind. Absolutely perfect. Sports weekend, I mean, could it get better? Could it get better? And we're all the way back now. Rugby's back, huh? Cricket's back, football's back, rugby's back. South African man's dream. Or woman, people out there. South African human beings' dream. People who love their sports and SA. So it is that time. It's braais, it's football, boerewors, braai, and the boys is what they say. So can't wait to go through all of it. Listen, what a weekend. What a weekend. Whether you're into the American sport, Dallas Cowboys last night, LeBron James, the Miami Heat, if you're into that. I mean, it's Stanley Cup right now, so that's going to be amazing. Really, really great weekend. Style bender. Oof. Listen, I got that call wrong. I thought the juiced up dude from Brazil was going to do his thing. No, because Soldier Boy told us that, what's his name? Silva was on something else. No good. Not going to work. What do they call him? The metrosexual guy from Brazil. The style bender, absolutely. TKO. Nasty. He's so nasty with those kicks to the shin and the toes. Nasty. And great breakdancing. TKO. Nasty stuff. Great weekend of sport. Let's get into it, folks. Today, where I was right, where I was wrong. And then I'll tell you what I learned in that Chelsea game against West Brom. I'll tell you what stories or what I sort of extrapolated from that, and which is clear for me now. It's a pattern. It's nothing we have to be surprised at. But let's start off with one of my favorites, where I was right, where I was wrong. Look, since where I was right, since 2010, right, when the great man, I mean, it is the logo, Jerry West, right? And you look at the ownership. I mean, it's generational. It's now Gail's in charge. Her father was in charge, of course, at the Lakers. Since 2010, they have not seen the NBA Finals. This man came from over in the East. Everybody said the East is the least. He came over from the East. He's nothing till he's beaten the West. Then what does he do? He comes over. Best record in the West. People still looking for excuses. 2010. That's 10 years ago. LeBron James is a different beast, folks. Everybody said, he can only win in the East. The only reason he gets to the finals is because he's in the East. It's easy. Folks, he's been in 10 finals in 17 years of playing. What do you want from the guy? 10? Are you kidding me? Do you know, in the history of basketball, right, LeBron James is in, I think it's 4th place for getting to the finals, including franchises across the board. Just LeBron James. He's in 4th place. I mean, are you kidding me? This guy, 10 and 17, and he's going to roll Miami. Like we saw now, what does he say? 0 dark 30. LeBron James just entered that mode. 38, 15, and 10. Are you kidding me? Year 17. He's number 1. There's nobody like it. By the way, once he wins this ring, it's all over. As you young kids on the street say, it's a wrap. When LeBron wins number 4, it's a wrap. I don't want to hear Michael Jordan again. For 10 in 17 years. Cool kids are saying, let that sink in. 10 NBA finals in 17 years as a one-man show. Kyrie Irving, we know, is a flake. Right? Those knees on D-Wade were going, and Chris Bosh, even in Miami, the Heatles, they called them. LeBron James, simply the greatest thing to be ever on a hardwood basketball court, I was dead right. LeBron James is the king. East, West, he is the best. LeBron James, where I was right. Where I was wrong. Look, last night, if I've got bags under my eyes, you know, so in timelines trying to watch the NFL, it's rough. I was wrong about Russell Wilson. I was dead wrong about him. This man's unbelievable. Listen, he's got 14 touchdowns in three games. Are you kidding me? We never thought we'd see it. We thought, okay, Peyton, I mean, Mahomes, we saw what he did in 2018. But when you see a guy do this, this guy's special. And you know what's amazing about him? Is I don't care how talented you are. In sport, when you're physically just at a disadvantage, he's unable to really, he has to find passing lanes to pass through the linemen, right? That D-line, these guys are 6'5", 6'6". The defensive ends, right? They're 6'7". It's Devion Clowney. I mean, you're talking about animals. J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt. These are monsters. He's finding passing lanes, and he throws, you know, no picks. He doesn't throw picks, and he throws home runs. There's no dinking and dacking and looking close here. Listen, first and second read, okay. But him and Tyler Lockett now. By the way, Metcalf, that drop was ridiculous. I didn't like that. I'll talk about that Metcalf situation tomorrow. I didn't like that. That should have been another touchdown. Game should have been out of sight. But Russell Wilson is the real deal. Do I think MVP? It's a little early to call because Patrick Mahomes is very capable of throwing 600 yards at any game between now. Let's see how Mahomes goes tonight, because tonight's the ultimate battle. But I was wrong on Russell Wilson. He's certainly top 3. I don't think he's Mahomes. I don't think anybody's Mahomes. But Russell Wilson's real, people. He's real. And, you know, I think he got no credit when the Legion of Boom was there, because I think they were the team, but he was a rookie. Colin Cowherd seems to think even in the second year when they lost to Belichick, of course, that player, probably the greatest player ever by Malcolm Butler in a Super Bowl, he thinks they should have given the team to Russ then. I disagree there. I don't think Russ was ready. But now Russ is the guy. And we know Pete Carroll's a defensive guy, right? But now it's Russell's team. Now it's clear. And this is what happens when you allow greatness to flourish. Russell Wilson, real deal. I was wrong. Where I was right, folks, I said it, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago in the Brighton game. I was right about Frank Lampard. I'm sorry, the guy's not evolving. It's not a personnel issue anymore. Smart guy. By the way, Mensa grade IQ. Frank Lampard, probably the smartest player Chelsea have had. You can go and read that article. So he's a smart guy. That's not the problem. Problem with smart people is they don't see their own blind sides. And I'm talking about book smart, by the way. Problem with book smart people is they think they life smart. Two different things. Street smart, book smart. Not the same thing. And the thing about book smart people, when you do have that intelligence factor, that IQ, right? The quotient is high. You think that translates to being able to translate your message to people. Often when you're smart, you're actually disconnected from people. Most people aren't smart. I get around smart people and I'm like, oh, I see why you have to be an academic. I see why you're financially successful, but you live in a massive house on your own. I think Lampard's got a touch of that, folks. I was dead right. There's a problem, and it's Lampard. And it's a Lampard issue of he's looking a bit like sorry, right? He's not willing to change. He's not willing to outsource. It's clear now. Chelsea can't defend. I was right on Frank Lampard. It's not a personnel problem. It's a Frank Lampard problem. It's a coaching problem. Houston, there is a problem. No excuses. And I was dead right. Frank Lampard. Dead right. Where I was wrong. Listen, West Ham and... hey, maybe David Moyes should stay the hell away from the ground for the rest of the season. Mikel Antonio is a handful. I was so wrong about the Hammers. I mean, you heard that buzzer go twice. That is how wrong I was on the Hammers. I was absolutely wrong. I thought Hammers were maybe going to be... Listen, I'll tell you what. I thought they were going to be relegation candidates. Not relegated, but I thought it was looking messy first 2 weeks. They've sorted it out. Declan Rice is clearly not going anywhere. They've still got Mark Noble to come back. Everyone's looking good. And they do have quality. That Bowen is sensational. They've got Yarmolenko on the bench. I mean, they've still got players to come back. Mikel Antonio is a game changer, right? He gives you everything Tammy Abraham doesn't, if you're a Chelsea fan, right? Everything Martial doesn't. Mikel Antonio, for all of his sort of technical inadequacies, is when the ball goes up front, what he does is he gives the talent time to catch up to the ball. Because he holds it up, that strength and the technical ability, quite frankly, because shielding the ball is technical ability, not just brute strength. To hold it up and you allow the rest of the team to join you, I mean, that is where Bobby Firmino is so brilliant. That's where Jesus, Aguero, Lewandowski, that's where they separate themselves. It's not a one-man gig up front. Drogba, you look at the greats, Henry. You need that strength, you need the grit, but you need the know-how. Let's hold it up, let the talent join me, and then it's a mess from there for the defense. West Ham, congratulations. That was unbelievable. Listen, West Ham beat basically the Portugal national team. Semedo now just has made it clear that it's the Portugal national team. And they made a mess of them. Wolves, big trouble. Second season syndrome, it's going to happen. Where I was right, Dak Prescott's not the guy. If you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, he's not the guy. What's the pattern, right? Here's the pattern. We've been watching it now for 2 years. I've been listening to Cowboy fans. A friend of mine she lives in Dallas, and she's like, if she could wear the Dallas Cowboys kit everywhere, she would. And I told her at the beginning of the season, I said, don't pay Dak. Last night was why. Because Dak, what's the pattern now? Stop getting excited and being prisoners of the moment. The pattern for the last 3 years is he falls behind, and then when you're behind, there's a term, a cheesy term in American football. Nothing cheap, nothing deep. When you're ahead, is you'll give them anything over the middle, that check down stuff. What you're not willing to do is let them stuff it in your face with the running back, and you're not giving up those big plays. Nothing cheap, nothing deep. And then Dak flourishes because he's dinking and dacking in the middle. Really, what should have happened? He should have had a third pick. I mean, if you didn't see it, Michael Gallup gets the most ridiculous catch ever because the Seattle corner gets there for the interception and then, I don't know, bobbles it, kicks it up, and Michael Gallup is off. And it's still game on. But we've seen what the pattern is now. You fall back, you fall behind double digits, Dak plays catch up, and then it goes either way from there. That's why they've been 8-8. Everybody blame Jason Garrett, but folks, a little bit of personal responsibility. You want to be a franchise quarterback? You want me to part? This is why this is why Stephen Jones had to take it out of Jerry's hands. Because Jerry's emotional. You buddy up to Jerry should never have paid Zeke. Jerry should never have crumbled. Don't pay Zeke. Listen, I don't mind paying running backs. I know the league doesn't like paying running backs because here's the pattern with running backs, right? Is you let them run out the 5 years, right? And then you give them the franchise tag 5th year, then you let them go, because what you do is you put those touches on them. I believe it's around that where you want to stay away from. And Zeke's heavy because he's a 400 touches a season kind of guy. But between that 320 and 380 mark, you get that on them for 4 years. 5th year, you give them the option, and then you say, get the hell out of town, because usually by then the knees are gone. Should never have paid Zeke, and he's also trouble off the field. Okay, fine. That's Jerry's style. It's been the same since 94. Is you buddy up to Jerry. Jerry Jones, he loves his stars. Actually, Jerry, although he says, my hand don't get cramps when I write checks, what Jerry cares about is being buddy and having a good time. Steven had to stop him, and this is why they didn't pay Dak. Dak's not the guy. He's a franchise quarterback, but I'm not giving him $45 million a year for 5 years, for 4 years. I'm not doing it. Last night was a good example why. And it hurts him. You know what hurts him? Is you see the difference between him and Russell Wilson. By the way, Russell Wilson has been sacked 36 times more than Dak in the last 3 years, right? And has thrown more touchdowns, has more wins. So in a worse situation with less talent, right? Dak came into the league with, not arguably, the greatest O-line in the league and still couldn't take me to Valhalla. Still couldn't take me to the promised land. Last night, oh no, accentuation of Dak, you're not the guy. And then you look over, and it really hurts Dak that he played Russell Wilson. But it happened again now. Folks, it's 3 years. Dak, I was dead right. He's not the guy. Don't pay him, Jerry. And Dak, get the hell out of town. You know what we'll do? Dak will pay you $30 million so we can surround you with talent, because it works when we got talent around you. But clearly when we put it on your shoulders, right? You're not Elway. You're not Steve Young. You're not Brady. You ain't it. You're not Aaron Rodgers. Hey, love me or hate me, Dak Prescott's not the guy, and the numbers tell you that. It's been 3 years, 8-8. Maybe it wasn't just Jason Garrett. Now he's got no excuse. He's got in Big Mike, right? The Yinzer from Philadelphia. In Big Mike, he's now got a Super Bowl winning coach. So I don't want to hear it now. He's now got CeeDee Lamb. He's got them all. Who's he got? Randall Cobb. He's got them all. Right? I don't want to hear it. They just paid Amari Cooper $20 million. That was maybe to stop him from going to the Eagles. But the firepower was sick. And then he's got Zeke in the backfield, the greatest body lean in the league. He's going to go for 1,400 yards again. So don't give me excuses. Dak, I was dead right. He's not the guy. Don't pay him. I wouldn't pay him a cent over $30 million. Anything over that, we'll see you later. We got the Red Rifle as our backup. Anything over 35, Dak, we'll see you later. Go to the market and see what they got for you. Where I was wrong, and I have to say it again because I'm humble. Cam Newton and Bill Belichick. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Listen, the Raiders showed last week what they were. What I saw last night, that wasn't just Cam bulldozing. That was surgical. We've never, even in his 2016? Cam's MVP year? We never saw surgical. We saw, I'm a physical beast. I'll do it with my brute. My God. Cam is saying, hey, my ego, my outfits, let's put that aside. I'm humble. I can be coached. I believe in self-awareness. What I'm seeing from Cam is I'm in the best situation ever to win. Is if I listen to these guys, the culture will win. So now he's saying, I will humble myself. And it's early days, but he's saying, I'll humble myself not only to the coaching, but to the system. That's hard. Cam Newton, he's been number one pick since Auburn, folks. National champ. Number one overall pick. That comes with ego. Him and Bill Belichick, but he's still letting him wear a chain, still letting him have the crazy hair, still letting him wear the outfits. I didn't think Belichick would be that loose. But here we go. And it's rolling now. Listen, they beat listen, that Raiders team is rolling. Las Vegas are real, and they're well coached. By the way, Super Bowl winning coach. Gruden's real. So, some might say his Super Bowl was won with a team that was ready for the Super Bowl when they were the Oakland Raiders. By the way, the Death Star in Las Vegas looking incredible. Cam Newton, Bill Belichick. I was wrong. This thing's rolling, and they're real. By the way, Bills Mafia, watch out. You thought the Empire was dead. Bill Belichick says, get that the hell out of here. Get that the hell out of here. I got Cam Newton, and I'll coach anybody. Give me 3 guys out of the front row. Anyone from Dorchester. Listen, I'll go to that harbor, and I can pick 3 guys, and they'll be player of the season. I'm the guy. Bill Belichick. Cam Newton. I was dead wrong. Where I was right. If you didn't get the chance to watch Barcelona last night, what have I been saying? What did I say about Leo Messi? What he wanted? He never wanted to leave. When Ronald Koeman came in, what did I say? I said, now watch. They're going to go Catalan and they're going to go Dutch. 4 players last night outside of the system. Everybody else in-house. Coutinho and Griezmann, the only stars. De Ligt, Dutch. All of them. We're back. Hey, they let Semedo go. People think he's world-class. Sergio Roberto. You'd never say Sergio Roberto's the guy. But where's he from? In-house, we're going back to our roots. We're going to play total football, and if we die, we die. In the words of Kirk Cousins, if we die, we die, but we'll do it our way. In-house, we are the best. That self-confidence is back, and the prodigal son has returned. Nobody gets it better. Remember, that was the start of it. Ronald Koeman, one of the golden boys of the Cruyff generation. Oh, it's rolling, folks. The performance last night, the patterns last night, we're back to tiki-taka. But Barcelona have a special tiki-taka. Not like Vicente Del Bosque did it with Spain, when Pep did it, right? When Cruyff did it, when Ajax do it. And now you're going to see the full machine. And by the way, it's a mess this year. Leo Messi, 50 goals expected again. Because last night they finally got him in the right place. And Griezmann now understands, stay the hell out the way. We'll continue at number 10. We'll let Messi do his mess off the right. They looked stunning last night. And that Atsu kid, I mean, he looks like he's 12 years old. But my God, Another special one, another one from in-house. I told you, Ronald Koeman, all they wanted was control. Leo Messi wanted control. He didn't want to leave. Let's go back to the Catalan way. I'm sick of you buying Dembele. I'm sick of you going outside to get talent. We're doing it our way. Like I said to you, look out for that board. I expect the Barcelona board to resign within the next 2 weeks. The Bartomeu is a dead man walking. He might stay for the money, but essentially he's just a face at this stage. Everybody now can see Leo Messi's in control and expect this thing to get as Catalan and as Dutch as ever. They might even wear clogs to warm-ups. Expect it to get that Dutch. I was dead right there. Where I was wrong. My God, when does the self-awareness start at Manchester United? Stop giving me COVID. Stop giving me this. It's 4 years in now. Paul Pogba is not a defensive midfielder. What do I have to do? As a Man United fan, what do you need to see that Paul Pogba isn't a guy you can trust to run your midfield? That was embarrassing. Solly March outplayed him. You can't have Solly March getting a hold of the midfield and Paul Pogba being unable to wrestle the flow of the game from Solly March. I'm sorry. Come on. It's 4 seasons later. We've seen what Pogba is. Nice assistant player. Every now and then he'll give you a cameo. But when you give him... Because where Ollie's trying to fit him, it's very weird. He's trying to make him what they call in Italian football the regista. And if you want to know what that is, that's Xabi Alonso, that's Pirlo. That's the role in front of the back four, and you're doing two things. You're controlling the tempo, which means how fast do we transition from defense to attack? So you decide, am I gonna turn and pass it immediately, pass through the lines, or do we need to play them out of shape more? Let's play at the back foot a little bit and let's allow the attacking pattern to redevelop. I don't like what I see, so let me play sort of what you might call, if you're American, a quarterback. The regista, he controls the tempo, number one, but then he must give you the rigidity. So the guy in between that half space, the half space between the midfield and the back 4 or 5, he must give you the tactical rigidity, because what he needs to do is be disciplined, is he can't chase the ball. As you stay in the middle, I'll tell you what that gives us, right? Is that you trust that your right back, left back, centre back can play in possession. And that discipline gives us that shape that even if things break down, you can cover for the back 4. Andrea Pirlo, I mean, as one of the slowest footballers possibly to ever be recorded running, right? But look how many cover tackles he used to make. You know why? Discipline. He doesn't chase the ball when it goes to the right back, left back, it's going to the attacking mids. He doesn't chase it. You let the ball do the work, and then when it's the other players' turn to do their thing, let them do their thing. Discipline. The regista must have the discipline. Okay, Pogba doesn't have the discipline. It's okay to say that. So I thought Man United would have seen that over 4 years. Clearly not. I don't want to hear COVID excuses. Come on. That's got nothing to do with tactical discipline. I was watching that and I was cringing at the lack of tactical discipline for a man at that level. Are you kidding me? I mean, I'm seeing Pogba popping up in the box when it's clear. That's Bruno's role. Bruno is the number 10. 8-10. Pogba is the 6-8. And probably he needs to be behind the ball. So how you tell a number 6 is playing well? Coaches will always tell you. The defensive mid, the great ones, you know what you want them doing. And the registas. He must be able to see this half of the ball. So our half of the football, if you want to simplify it, you must always be able to see our half of the football, which means you should never be beyond the ball, really. You should always be behind the ball, every single situation, as the tempo controller. And Paul Pogba, you know who it reminds me of? If you're a Man United fan, you should be having these nightmares. And go and read Sir Alex Ferguson's book, what he said about Juan Sebastian Veron. Is he would have nightmares. He'd pop up here, he'd pop up there, he'd pop up everywhere. Clearly a quality player, just like Paul Pogba. But the lack of tactical discipline. This is why France have to babysit him by playing Sissoko, Matuidi, and Conte. This is why Juventus, I always said, that was never Pogba's team. Because what did they have to do? Babysit him. The talent's not the problem. But you had to have Vidal, Pirlo, Marquisio. Because they had to do all the tactical, the brain stuff while he ran amok. How old's Pogba now? 26, 27? We can't still be babysitting you, Chief. Especially not for 90 million. It's all good if you're an ancillary player. You're at Juve for free. You're at France, in France, because then we just let you do what you do. But I'm afraid if you're going to be the guy, if you're going to be the kingpin, and it's crucial to Ollie's style, tactical discipline, absolutely embarrassing. I was dead right, though. Oh, I was dead wrong. Sorry. I was dead wrong. I thought Man United had some self-awareness. They are dead if they think Pogba. If you think Pogba's your guy, you're dead. Man United will not make top 6 this season. And I called it now. If Pogba continues to be the guy, right, he needs somebody to babysit with him. You're going to have to play Matic and McTominay with him all the time. You're going to have to play McTominay and Matic, by the way. That's what I'm saying. Is you can't have Pogba and Matic like you did on the weekend. Not going to do it. Matic can't run. You saw the problem. Solly March was all over them. Dead wrong there. Where I was right. What did I tell you about Thiago Alcantara? This is not the Bundesliga where you can walk your way in. By the way, people said, oh, what about Bale? Listen, Bale was already unfit coming out of last season. And I'm reading that reports that he's not injured. He just has to catch up. The guy hasn't played football in 6 months. People say, yeah, but you were wrong about Gareth Bale and his injuries. Gareth Bale's not injured. He hasn't had a preseason. He hadn't played. Thiago Alcantara has been playing, but he's injured again. I showed you the chart. He's not going to be able to play 30 games in the Premier League. I'd be worried if I'm a Liverpool fan. I showed you in the last 10 seasons, he's only played 30 games once in leagues where it's made for him. The Bundesliga is a stroll for Bayern Munich. This is real now. If you're a Liverpool fan, I'd be concerned. I was dead right. Thiago Alcantara, the injuries, it's a real thing, folks. We observed the numbers over 10 years. Can't play 30 games a season. It's tough. He's not playing tonight. Big game. Oh, big game if you're an Arsenal fan. I expect Liverpool to roll them. Lastly, where I was wrong. Hey, the Cincinnati kid. LSU. I was dead wrong, folks. Joe Burrow is business. He's money, as the Americans say. He is money. That organization is absolute trash. Listen, the Bengals don't have an indoor training facility in one of the coldest cities in the world. Ohio is one of the coldest places in the world. They still don't have an indoor facility. That place is run like a slum. Joe Burrow says, no problem. Listen, I'll say this again. Where you land in life matters. Where you land in life matters. I don't care who you are. Unless you're ultra talented. It's difficult to transcend chaos. And the Cincinnati Bengals are beyond chaotic. It's actually a shambles. It's shambolic. It's a mess. Joe Burrow is for real. They let him throw 61 times. Didn't have a pick last week. And this week, man, he's real. He's a hometown kid. They're going to love him. They're going to sell shirts off his back. But the boy can play. I was dead wrong. Listen, I thought maybe... I thought they'd get the number 1 pick. There's no way they're not winning 4 or 5 games. The Bengals will win 4 or 5 games because once he gets AJ Green properly fit, properly back, you expect some of those plays that get beyond some of the receivers now. Joe Burrow will take it to the house. He's cool as ice as well. He is cool as ice. He doesn't get flustered. And my God, that escape on the last play there to hit his, I think it was his tight end. Unreal. Cincinnati, you got your guy. I was dead wrong. You got your guy for 10 years. Now build a guy in an indoor training facility, please. It's cold. It's freezing in Ohio. If you haven't been to Ohio, don't go in winter. Been there, done that. Awful. He's a Rust Belt kind of guy. Built different. Joe Burrow. Cincinnati Bengals. Congratulations. You found each other. I was dead wrong. That is where I was right. That is where I was wrong. What a weekend of sport. Let's move over to the other side of the pond. Chelsea played West Brom in one of the most ridiculous matches you could ever wish to see. Ridiculous for many reasons. All right, game ended 3-3. If you didn't watch it, West Bromwich were 3-0 up at a stage, by the way. The Albion were 3-0 up on Chelsea. And it's a full squad. It's a full Chelsea squad. Don't give me Pulisic out, Ziyech is out. It's a full squad. It's a proper squad. They've got two of the most talented footballers on the planet in their team, in Havertz and Werner. I don't want to hear it. They were 3-0 up. Thiago Silva. There's no excuses. Chelsea have no excuses. Don't give me Reece James. You got your full team. You got the manager has all of his assets. But there are two things I learned from this game. Let me start off with West Brom and what I learned about them, and it confirms what I thought at the beginning of the year and what I saw last week. Right? Slaven Bilic is what he is. Right? When I've said it before, say it again. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. This is not the first time Slaven Bilic has been in the league, right? And then been fired soon after. His last incident, folks, was with Fulham. Came in the league a little bit, had to go. You know, when you're an entrepreneur, and I'm sure the entrepreneurs out there will know this, and you may have dealt with others. Just because you started a company, it doesn't mean you're the best person to grow that company. Happens all the time. Sometimes entrepreneurs need to bring in a COO and step aside and just handle other stuff. Handle marketing, handle business relations. Let the COO, let somebody operational who thinks bigger, who sees the business for all its weaknesses. Listen, it's like having a child, right? Most mothers and fathers don't see the weaknesses in their own kids. Everyone's kids are perfect to them. Slaven Bilic, I believe, is that guy. He can bring you from the championship. But Dave, let's bring up that tweet again. Let's have a look at what the numbers are saying already. West Brom have conceded more goals after their opening 3 games than any other team in Premier League history. That's 11 goals. Slaven's not the guy. And his behavior last week when he got sent off, this is what he is. He's loose. It's unprofessional. At 3-0 up, it's unprofessional. Because West Brom didn't look like they changed the game plan at all. He still had 2 up front. They were still loose in midfield. They didn't tighten up at the back. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. So what it confirmed for me was he will be the first manager sacked in the Premier League. I think that's absolutely certain. That's a given. It's too loose. It's just too loose. He's not good enough. And then what it showed me is he's not in control. It's being at the top level. It's all about control, right? Leadership is about control, folks. I can't say it enough. But that second half performance for West Brom was out of control. And every single football team, any sports team in the world, takes on the characteristics of its manager. What is Slaven? A fun guy, a player's coach, blah, blah, blah. He'll give you a nice snippet or two in the media. Sorry, doesn't work. Doesn't work. It ain't going to work. So that's the first thing I learned. I was right on Slaven Bilic. I think they'll be the first to go. West Brom are out. And I think he'll be sacked probably by December, purely because he's just not a Premier League guy. He's more of a rah-rah. And I think the championship works better with that style, right? Very combative, and he's emotional. Emotional doesn't always mean, in fact, very rarely does emotional mean professional. We can all get emotional. I'm not saying you mustn't deal with your emotions, but there's a situational awareness, right? You take your emotions and go cry in your pillow at home. This is a corporate company. If you're going to be emotional, do it in the boardroom. But in front of the cameras, in front of Sky, because when your players see that you're out of control, what does that say to them? Leadership's about control. So I'm out on Slaven Bilic. I like him. He's funny. He's a great media pundit. He's a nice character, animated, but no, sir. X's and O's, no good. Not big on details. Not big on details. But the second lesson I learned, and I am a Chelsea fan, was a sad one. You know, the 2 goals Chelsea conceded, outside of the mistake, of course, by Thiago Silva, is they look exactly the same. They look exactly the same as the very first game Frank Lampard managed against Man United. We've now seen the pattern. Chelsea are what they are now. It's not like they're still a work in progress. I don't care who you are. I've played enough football a friend of mine keeps reminding me that my favorite saying is I've played at a certain level. I've played it enough with high-level coaching to know that no matter the personnel, a team is already who they are tactically after 10, 15 games. So you don't need the quality, of course, but 10, 15 games, I should be able to spot the patterns. And I know my football. I've been watching football since I was 6 years old. And when you get coached enough, you know what football should look like. I know what a football team should look like. There's only 6 or 7 patterns, by the way, in football. This isn't like there's 1,000 ways to play football. It's a very simple game. Even at the highest level, right? There's only 6 or 7 patterns, depending how deep you want to get into it. I'm still not sure what Chelsea are. But what I'm certain of is that Frank Lampard, because all the goals that Chelsea concede, right? Or let's call it 80% of the goals Chelsea concede are the very same. It's a pattern now. Listen, we're 41 games into it now. Let's not pretend like it's brand new. Frank, it is what is the defensive setup? And all the time you're conceding on counterattacks. It looks exactly the same, right? Is Chelsea get caught with the ball in midfield. There is no defensive mid, or nobody has been instructed to be in the defensive mid, libero or regista position, because Conte is naturally there. We know that. People must stop saying he's a number 8. He's not. Lampard is clearly giving him those instructions. But now it looks like the same. The goals he considered against Manchester United in that first game look like the goals that Callum Robinson scored for West Brom. That's 41 games later. That's not a coincidence. Frank Lampard has conceded the most goals in the Premier League since he's been the manager. What do we do about that? That's not a coinky-dinky. That's not a player problem. It's not a personnel problem. Let's just face it. It's a coaching problem. And I'll go back to it. Smart people aren't always the best at asking for help. We saw it with Maurizio Sarri. Is if you're not willing to change, you got to go. I'm sorry, if you're still conceding the same goals 41 games into it, a year into it, no, you could have Dunga and Makelele in this team. You could have both of them in this team. And you're still not going to solve the midfield problem because it's not a personnel issue. The coach isn't willing to change. And it's also okay, by the way, Frank Lampard, to say, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't have the knowledge of how to set up defensively. That's okay. My last point on this, I think it's pointed to something rather poignant that I observed. This is the difference between British coaches and the continental guys. British people are always moaning is, where's the British coaches? Why aren't they coming through? There's a difference between a manager and a coach. Maybe Frank Lampard needs to be a manager, not a coach. If you look at Fergie's career, Carlos Queiroz, you read all the books. Molestin, who's the guy who's in now, Mike Phelan. It was all about coaches. Fergie was more managing like a psychologist, managing the players. It's okay not to know the X's and O's. Lampard needs to be humble and go, I can't defend. I don't know how to coach it. With smart people, though, it's very, very difficult. They are always, as with all human beings, but smart people are even worse. And I mean book smart. He's pathological, right? He's a smart guy. Lampard's all up here. Smart guy. I think he registered at a 160 IQ, if I read that article correctly that a couple of years ago. So smart guy. The book smart's not a problem. But is he able to know the X's and O's? Is he humble enough to go, all right, I have blind spots? He's starting to show me that he's not, because if you're conceding the same goals against Man United a year later, the goals look exactly the same, folks. Go and look up Man United's first game where they won 4-0. The games go exactly the same. Chelsea dominate the first 20 minutes because often that's hype, that's energy, people are cold. A football game is tactical from about 25 minutes in because it's all about adjustment. But we've seen now British coaches aren't great at coaching. You know what they're great at doing is let's put out a 4-4-2, let's put out a formation, and that's just what it is. That's just what it is. Even, I mean, look at Fergie's team. It was, Molestin, Carlos Queiroz. That's the backbone of the dynasties. The British guys don't get taught how to coach. It's very much rah. Go on spirit. Work hard. There's a reason why Mourinho, look at the names that have dominated. Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp came 2 seasons. Jurgen Klopp didn't need 1 million seasons. You know why? Because he's a coach. I believe Frank Lampard is more of a manager than he is a coach. He doesn't know it yet. And there are no excuses as a Chelsea fan. I'm sorry. Stop telling me Ziyech out, Pulisic out. There's more than enough quality to deal with West Brom. But when you're conceding those goals against West Brom, 3-0 down against West Brom, that's not a player issue anymore. Marcus Alonso should never be playing in a back 4. We know that. Chelsea fans know that. Everybody in the world knows that. Why doesn't Lampard? Do you know what? Truly intelligent people, and once again, different between book smart, emotional smart. Truly intelligent people. Yes, you can be smart. Yes, you can have great ideas. But you know what? The truly, truly smart people accept your reality. Smart people deal with the world as it is, not how they want it to be. You don't have Marcelo. You don't have Roberto Carlos. You don't have Philippe Lam. Right? You've got Marcos Alonso. Humble yourself, Lampard. Play 3 at the back. No, he wants to do it his way. As a Chelsea fan, I'm now officially concerned. What I saw against West Brom, it's nothing different from what I saw against Manchester United and all of last season, and exactly how Chelsea concedes the goals. So you can have Jorginho, you can have Conte, you can have Kovacic. If they aren't tactically set up correctly, right? And by the way, being attacking doesn't mean being loose. Man City, I mean, bar last night and a few errors lately, but Man City largely are not vulnerable to the counter-attack. Liverpool aren't vulnerable to the counter-attack, and they are hyper-aggressive teams. You know why? Because they are tactically set up they invert their fullbacks. So when you invert the fullbacks on attack, you know what happens? Is when the counter-attack happens, is that instead of your players just staying wide, so if the ball's on the left, the right wing, your right back should be almost inside half, right half. So that shouldn't break down. He's fouling the guy on the counter-attack or he's covering. But Lampard just doesn't seem to do that. Reece James is playing right forward and there's no other cover. But it's a mess. It's a coaching mess. Let's not get into the X's and O's too much. As a Chelsea fan, I am concerned. And now it's a coaching issue. I don't want to hear about players. Lampard's got what he wants. He's got Silva. He's got enough Zuma. He's got Tomori. The talent's not the problem, people. The players are quality. The quality's there. Kovacic is a natural defensive midfielder. He plays that for Croatia. They went to the World Cup final, so don't give me that. I'm a Croatia fan internationally. Conte won a World Cup and the title for Leicester as a DM. They are playing under instructions to be box to box. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. And don't give me an excuse. If you bought Havertz and now he has to play out of position and you're trying to find Mason Mount to place, that's your problem as the coach. Nobody said you must go and buy Havertz when you already had Mason Mount. I don't want to hear excuses. And Frank Lampard, quite frankly, now is starting to blame Alonso. And I'm hearing he's saying Marcos Alonso was out of place. Frank, that's not his fault. Marcos Alonso can't play in the back four. We all know that. It's done, folks. As a Chelsea fan, I'm done with excuses. I don't want to hear about players, the manager always. Because last season, you know what? Frank Lampard got all of the credit, right, for getting top four. When you get all of the credit, you must take all of the criticism. And now you have no excuses. You've got Havertz, you've got Werner. That takes you up a notch. Why did you play Tammy Abraham? Tammy Abraham cannot hold the ball up. And we know against low block teams, you got to play Giroud. Tammy Abraham, I've said it. Stop eating pizza, dude. You got to eat that Nigerian goat jollof. How are you that size? Reece James's delivery, wasted. There wasn't a single cross. By the way, 6 crosses that were perfectly placed on the 6-yard line, right? Tammy Abraham didn't compete for one. You know what Reece James is going to do when he gets... As soon as he crosses the halfway line, Reece James is looking to deliver. Tammy Abraham didn't compete for one header. How's that possible? And people are saying, oh, but Tammy Abraham saved you with the goal. I've used this analogy before. If you push me into the river and then you save me and you go, oh, that was close, I saved you from drowning, and you expect me to thank you, you're crazy. I'll kick you in the teeth. You can't push me in and then save me and say, I saved you from drowning. The hell out of my face. Tammy Abraham was awful for 90 minutes. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. The cavalry had to come off the bench to save Tammy Abraham's mess. What a mess. And Lampard, I don't want to say on the clock, but certainly the clock is being put in place. Don't want to hear excuses anymore. There's problems. Love to know what people think. If you're a Chelsea fan, let me know. Let me know. Does Ziyech need to come back? Does Pulisic need to come back? What more do we need to see? What more do we need to see? All right. Well, I guess if you are watching and you're thinking, oh, it's driving me crazy, send us your questions. By the way, remember to push like and remember to subscribe. Push the bell and it'll let you know when we go live. So at the bottom, push the like, the thumbs up at the bottom. Otherwise, like, share, subscribe, be a friend, tell a friend, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Cliff Central Sport, and then, of course, Cliff C Sport on the Twitter machine. If you want to tweet us and have us bring up your question, feel free to tweet us at Cliff C Sport and we'll read it. We'll throw it in here and we'll read it. And we certainly have made time for that. So coming up after this, it is the Q&A. All righty. Good beats in the break there, huh? Good beats. I'm all about the good beats. All right, I'm MKT. That's Gareth Cliff. Let's get to it. Q&A. What we got there, David LaRue. Senzo Sitebe says, what do we make about Kovacic's performance this weekend? Look, I presume that was last week and this past weekend. I think it's a mess in there. It's not clear who's who. So England make this mistake with Gerrard and Lampard in the so-called golden generation. Is stop letting guys take turns how to be a 6, 8. Let's be very clear about roles. And can we just stop saying neither is a 6? Kovacic plays 6, holding defensive midfielder for Croatia. And that's what Real Madrid bought him as. And N'Golo Kante was that. I mean, we saw the Leicester season. We saw how France won the World Cup. They had their runners in Matuidi and Pogba. Who else did they have? It was Blaise and Sissoko. Kante protected the back four. That's what he does. That is what he's made a living of. Lampard has turned him into an 8, a shuttling 8, which makes no sense because he doesn't have the tactical ability. So Kovacic is absolutely brilliant. Chelsea player of the season. I just think the problem is you probably need to get rid of either Mason Mount or Havertz in order to accommodate Kovacic, because what you need is Kante playing by himself in the holding mid-roll. That's what so I had no problem with Kovacic's performance on the weekend. It didn't make sense to me that he went off and Havertz stayed on, but okay, it is what it is. Lampard's put himself in that trap. I think Kovacic is the most complete midfielder Chelsea have got. I think Kante is the best midfielder when played as no responsibilities in attack, just hold like you've done your whole career. I'm not sure what's happening with Lampard. Just because he's athletic, it doesn't mean you should be. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. So Kovacic, great performance both weeks. Not sure why he's taking any of the blame. What's next, Dave? Rika says, private ownership is the way forward for our rugby? That's what he's asking. Rikas, I think private ownership in sport is always the way to go. Because sport is the most innovative business in the world and generally what you need. Because sport waits for nobody. Any environment waits about winning and losing, right? Which is why governments are generally terrible at things anywhere in the world, is there's no competition, right? Or you go and try and renew your license. There's no competition for those people, so they don't have to improve. If you don't improve in the Premier League, my friend, if you're not at the cutting edge in the NFL, you are dead. Once you put billions of dollars on the line, you need billionaires who understand what it takes to win. And winning's an ugly business. Some of the stuff they do to win, I don't want to know. You don't want to know. But in the end, when you want to compete, most people, right, when it comes time to compete and be an animal, everybody, what is the old saying? Everybody wants to be a lion until it's time to do what lions do. Everybody wants to, I'm on the Instagram and you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm such a beast, I'm grinding. But when it's time to, because in order to be a male lion, there are some unpleasant things you must do to be the king. And this is true across all life, by the way. Even for human beings, in order to win, there are certain things you have to do that are rather unsavory. And everybody wants to talk like they want to win. They want to say the right things. You call them politicians, right? They'll promise you the world until it's time to do it. Because when it's time to win, you need to have a bit of bastard about you, for lack of a better term. And that's what billionaires have. Is, I don't care what you're doing. I'm here to win. Get the hell out my way. And what billionaires do better than anybody, you can accumulate 10 million kind of by mistake, maybe 50 million kind of by mistake. Maybe you just fell on two good ideas. You don't accumulate $1 billion by mistake and keep it. It doesn't happen. Private ownership is absolutely the way for South African rugby. It is it's not even, it shouldn't even be a conversation, because you know what we do then? And we have to have honest conversations in South Africa. Do we need to have transformation? Has to be a real conversation on the table. We must understand that they're two different conversations. We can have those conversations separately, by the way. And I guess the fear in South Africa is if we go private, some of the wealth still doesn't lie in with certain demographics, which would help the transformation thing. Is billionaires coming in. Don't you worry about that. Is billionaires will find a way to innovate and still meet targets, because their aim is to win. And by the way, we've seen with the latest Springbok team is, as in life, when you give people an environment where they can express themselves, it doesn't matter what your skin color is. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what your religion is. When people are given the tools to succeed and time and space to succeed, I mean, how many black players in the Springbok team? How many Afrikaans guys? It didn't matter. It didn't matter. I don't care that you're from Potensi and I'm from Tembisa. We got a common goal, right? And in business, it's going to be very much that way, because billionaires will care about, I want to make the Stormers most profitable, not just in Cape Town. Billionaires also, they don't think small. Is government, when you think of, it's amateur now in South African rugby, they think so small, like, make Western Province the biggest in the Currie Cup, or our rivals are the Bulls. You know what a billionaire thinks? The guy, if you let a billionaire buy the Stormers, he's thinking, how do I compete with the Dallas Cowboys as a brand? And then that's a different level of expectation, by the way. Billionaires they create different expectations. Right now, when you allow Boland to have as much power as the Lions, and essentially South African rugby, if you don't understand the structure, by the golden goolies is the small clubs, because they get an equal vote as everybody, have South African rugby by the goolies. So it's a mess. It's a mess. And if you don't run things properly, this is what happens. So private ownership, absolutely. For the big six, by the way. Not for everyone. I don't really care. To be honest with you, I don't care what happens with Border. I don't care what happens with Boland. I just don't care. Like, I don't care. You've shown you don't care, so I don't care. What I care about is the big six. Let's create a professional environment where those six, there's enough money once you have a billionaire, is you won't miss any talent. Right? They may get 50, 60 scouts everywhere, and just let's let this thing roll. How Border, Boland, Namakwaland, they want to run their rugby. Actually, to be honest, at this stage, I don't care, because you've shown that you're going to hinder South African rugby at the moment more than help it. So the big six, sell them to billionaires. Quite frankly, I'm over it. And by the way, let's not be afraid to have awkward conversations. We're going to have the transformation conversation. So the billionaires have uncomfortable conversations all the time, people. And you must remember, billionaires have to always, because the world is so suspicious of them, they're always in rooms with bureaucrats telling them what not to do, what to do. Here's the rules. But billionaires find a way to work with the rules and make it profitable and think big and go global. And that's what South African rugby needs, quite frankly, if it is to be saved. Not sure if we're going to go that way. It is, as we've seen, we're going north. I think it's a terrible decision, but different convo. That's what we got. Senzo Stebe says, Mo Salah knows he isn't the guy anymore. You can see his frustration. And statements of the week. That is a problem. I think you saw it last season. And I said this to people. I said, when Mane lost his cool, right? And they were like 3-0 up. And Salah didn't pass him the ball. Listen, winning is corrosive. It's tough. It's difficult stuff, right? You started to see the cracks last season. I said to you, there's a 3-year cycle for every team. Liverpool are in their third cycle. They've been grinding at each other, working hard to stay at the top. Staying at the top's not hard. I mean, it's not easy. especially when it's the same people. You're seeing the same faces. What was Fergie's secret? Every time they won, you rotate. New player, new player, new player. The stars get to their peak before. What you do, Bill Belichick and Fergie's rule. What's the rule? When guys get to their ego max and I own the system, I'm the guy. Ruud van Nistelrooy, hell out. Stam, the hell out. Beckham, the hell out. Roy Keane, the hell out. Klopp hasn't done that. And this is real. I can only speak for men. Men want their credit, people. You think Mane doesn't want his credit? You think Salah doesn't want his credit? And it's clear. Sadio Mane is the best player at Liverpool. It's not even close. It's not close. It's not close. And everybody's starting to realize it. I don't think it's sitting. Hey, look for those. This is why Liverpool will come third or fourth. Look for those frustrations to bubble more. Because it's not, if it happened with Mane, trust me, it's not just him. Because there'll be Mane guys, there'll be Salah guys. Look for that frustration to bubble up now. Season 3, every dynasty in Premier League history has broken down in season 3. I totally agree with you. I still think they're going to kill Arsenal tonight because Arsenal are no good. They're what we got. I totally agree with that. Great statement, Senzo. Magic Rug. Tokyo and Cyril have a lot of money. They do have a lot of money, but I mean, they're politicians, really. Very, 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 very different type of, you have to be honest. I mean, I don't want to get into the politics of how they got their money. So they do have a lot of money, but it's not the kind of guys that you need billionaires who are entrepreneurs, not Tokyo and Cyril. Yeah. So, I mean, those of you who know exactly how they got their cash. So, Jesse Randolph says, I told you about Israel. He's really good. When you have time, check out, Kamzat Chimaev, a Chechen fighter. Wow. All right. I'll definitely check him out. Yeah. Hey, listen, what does he call himself? The Last Style Bender. I think that's a play on M. Night Shyamalan. I don't know if you've seen the film. Last Airbender. Very good. He is insane, dude. I did watch the fight on the weekend. I watched the replay. I didn't get up for it. But he's insane. He's mental. Because Costa's quite big, quite a bit bigger than him, actually. But my God, that was surgical, man. And by the way, Costa's, he's a jiu-jitsu black belt. So for real. And in the build-up, I mean, they've been at each other's throats. You saw him throw the white belt at Adesanya. But my God, that was brutal, dude. That was a little brother beating up a big brother. And the style, dude. He's so stylish. Ugh, nasty. Costa's gonna have to go and get some makeup on his metrosexual face. Dave, what we got? That was brutal. If you haven't seen it, Rico Swart says Pogba is world class when he plays an attacking midfielder, but as soon as he drops back, he looks all over the place and disconnected with the rest of the team. Rickus, I'm not going to add to that because I can't. I totally agree. Is the ideal situation for Pogba is don't give him responsibility. Just say, we're going to protect you. We're going to play McTominay. We're going to play Matic. And then we're going to play, you're probably going to have to play another one, but we're going to play McTominay and Matic. So don't even look back. Your thing is get on the ball, dazzle, link up with Bruno and get the ball to the front three. But as soon as you see number 6, that role, you actually have to be responsible, folks. And I hate to say it. I know people love Pogba and people say I'm a hater, but you are who you are. His behavior off the field lets me know what he's going to be like on the field. I'm sorry. That matters. We're in a corporate world. If I start to see certain things off the field, it's going to carry. That's who he is, right? Because what does his image tell you? I want to express myself, right? It's me. I want to look at me. If you want to be that, unfortunately, systems don't work like that. This is why Bill Belichick and Alex Ferguson, what they did was insane. They managed to suppress all those egos for 27 years in Fergie's case, for 20 years in Bill Belichick's case. Pogba has to realize the system wins. This is why people struggle with Jose Mourinho. But what does Mourinho do? Ultimately, wherever he goes, he went to Man United and still won a trophy, by the way. So don't forget that. Systems over talent. and Pogba says, me, systems say, get the hell out, leave your ego at the door. And I don't, Rikus, you're dead right. Oh, man, it's so sad. I thought Ollie is in trouble if he doesn't fix that. Lifika Marube, Senzo, Umbi, I hope you guys remember your comments about LFC. I've been bookmarking them for a discussion during Christmas and then again at the end of the season. Listen, Lifika, I have to be clear. Everybody, I know how the season started. I've just seen it too many times. 2 seasons, dynasties fall off. I don't want to go through it again, but this is Liverpool's 3rd season of the dynasty. And I saw the cracks with Mane and Salah last year. People might say it's nothing. And by the way, if you don't hold on to Gini Wijnaldum, because I still think he's going to go to Barcelona with another week of the transfer window, it's going to get messy. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem because Gini gives you that technical ability and he's functional. And remember, you're losing a functional midfielder. Once Thiago Alcantara comes in, you're losing the physicality there. Somewhere, somehow, you need somebody who can make up for the loss of physicality. And Gini gives you technical and physical. Henderson's not enough. Fabinho's not enough. You need Wijnaldum, because what does Wijnaldum do as well that every other midfielder doesn't do for Liverpool? He does get in the box and get you a crucial goal, by the way, in the mold of Steven Gerrard. Alcantara, that's not his role, and it'll be interesting to see how does he adjust. December, we know that's when we'll judge Liverpool. I still think bumpy road is coming. The burnout, we'll see. November, December, we're bookmarking. Love that from Lafika. What we got there? I stick to my guns. I think Liverpool might even have a problem making top 4, to be clear, and I'm sticking to my guns. Magic Rug says, as someone who played at a decent level, do you know how to set up at a defensive level? I do know how to set up. I do. In theory, I do know how to set it up. Could I do it at that level? My God, probably not. No, I do not have my coaching badges. But, I mean, it's pretty simple. And this idea that just because you played, you know more, nonsense. Jose Mourinho never played at a decent level. Jurgen Klopp, I think, was a 2nd division player in Germany. So, and Fergie never made it. I mean, he was Rangers, but never a star player. Jesse Randolph says, so Arteta wasn't just Pep's water boy. I don't know if they're going to win the league this year. Their defense is worse than Arsenal's. Yeah, look, I think you also have to acknowledge there is he's had some problems in applying the system. He's got problems all over the place. I mean, he's got COVID, 3 guys. And I'm not saying that because I didn't give Pogba the break. I don't want to hear it from Pep as well. It should worry you if you're a Man City fan, because where was the self-awareness to go, I don't have all the cavalry, let's tighten up. He still played like it was a Pep team. So open. That's a problem. And we saw Fernandinho, by the way. I don't know if you saw the frustration there. I thought that was his sort of the commander of the battalion. But wow, that was fractious. Worrying for City unless he tightens it up. But Pep, same Lampard problem. Intellectual guy. Maybe he doesn't see his blind spots. You can't play that open when you don't have all the cavalry. Aguero. No Laporte. You got to tighten up. You got to just be humble. You got to listen. This is where you have to credit Fergie, Mourinho, these top guys. When they don't have everyone fit, where's the tactical flexibility? Right? They play 5 at the back. It doesn't make you less. We think more of you then. But Pep may be showing there's only one way, and if I do it, it's going to be my way. So let's see what happens, because I think the Man City situation is different to Man United, to Chelsea. Is the cavalry, listen to this cavalry that must still come back. Laporte, Sergio Aguero, Jesus, Bernardo Silva. Add any of those guys to any of the top 8 teams, you become a title contender immediately. If I told you those people still have to come back, Bernardo Silva, Jesus, Sergio Aguero. If I told you those guys still have to come back, Laporte. I give you those 5. I don't care which team you are. You are immediately on the spot. Brighton get those 5. They are title contenders immediately. Man United don't have anybody to come back. Wan-Bissaka played. Who played on the left? Luke Shaw played. Maguire played. Lindelof played. Like, that's your team. Pogba played, Bruno played, your front three is Greenwood. You've told us this is the greatest. So City the cavalry, Gundogan, by the way, I forget, he's not there. So I'm not giving Pep any excuses because I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it for Lampard. Pep must be criticized, and we must say, where was the tactical flexibility? But I think it's going to be a season where he's going to win it because Liverpool will erode purely because of burnout. And I think there's nobody who can keep up because Chelsea have shown that, or Lampard has shown that he's not serious. I still think Chelsea will be second purely because I think the burnout at Liverpool will be real. What we got there, Dave? Rikus Swart says, did you watch the Stormers game? I would love your opinion on Frans Malherbe's physical presence. It seems like the lockdown got the best of him. Appearance, sorry. Rikus, I've had a problem with that hamburger on legs for a long time. You know, that was such an old regime because what Malherbe gives you in the scrum, of course, is phenomenal. But it's revolting to me, Rikus. Any sportsman out of shape. I caught about 10 minutes. By the way, I saw Galan's try, and my God, he looked electrifying. Any sportsman in the world where you're at that level, anyone, folks, when you play in South African rugby at a professional level, you're inside the 1% of the 1%. We are the rugby nation. And that's not my opinion. That's not conjecture. Since the professional era started, who has the most World Cups? Okay, enough said. We don't need to go over it. That's not hometown bias. We are the best of the best when it comes to the premium level. Because rugby is still amateur and the World Cup is the judgment. So if you play in South Africa, for the top four, I think there's only really 4 teams you can take seriously in South Africa. It's the Bulls, Lions, Stormers, Sharks. When you're at the Stormers, who are the richest franchise in South Africa, who are, okay, outside of the Bulls maybe, but they're real. Malherbe being overweight he should be revolted with himself because I did see it. I saw the memes. I saw the tweets. People sent me photos. It's revolting because just if you're overweight as a sportsman, any sportsman, I don't care what sport you're in. What are you doing on a Tuesday morning that you aren't getting fit? What are you doing for the 6 weeks of preseason? What are you doing? Are you a single mom with 3 kids where you've got 2 jobs just to send them to school? What are your other responsibilities that you are not in the ultimate shape? And Rikus, I have to tell you this, and you know why that concerns me actually? At a stage, it stops being the player's problem. You know, in boxing, one of my favorite sports in the world, you know why you have a ring, you have your coach, but then you've got everyone else, your technical assistants, and you've got your team. Is like Deontay Wilder saw, is sometimes you have to save a fighter from himself. And then the responsibilities with the crew. Everybody plays their part. I worry about, and listen, we've had Dobson on here. I worry about the coaching structures that's seen as acceptable. You know, the problem is, there's a great quote from a guy called Mike Shanahan. Go and look him up. He's famous for winning 2 Super Bowls in a row, back to back, with the Denver Broncos. He said, I will never accept anything in a loss that I wouldn't accept in a win. Or either way around, sorry. I will never accept anything in a win that I wouldn't accept in a loss. What that means is we play to a standard, not a result, not an outcome, not the scoreboard. There's a standard. So if there was a standard, here's maybe what your CO2 max should be. Here's what your beep test will be. Because we're at that era now, right? Is where props need to be basically loose forwards. We've seen that. What's happening with that? That tells me Stormers, amateur, right? What else am I to presume? Look at American football. There is no way. There is no way anyone in American football, and those D linemen, the O linemen, are getting smaller and smaller and fitter. If they're big, there's a reason. But even those guys, if he's a running back, he has a certain body type. Sports science is involved everywhere. I'm afraid, folks, amateur. And Malherbe, it's revolting. You should be disgusted with yourself, number one. Where are your standards as a professional rugby player or as a professional sportsman? And the Stormers have to take 50% of the blame. How is that standard not applied? And what it tells you is there's no culture. Because look at the All Blacks props. Is there an overweight prop for the All Blacks? Crusaders? No chance. No, impossible. Impossible. Culture. There's a problem in the Stormers' culture. And I'm starting to think I don't want to say South African rugby, but let's talk about this one. Stormers, there's a culture problem there. That can't happen. No good. Dave, what we got? I think we got 2 more questions. We'll let everybody go home. Liverpool play Arsenal in a bit. Senzo Sitebe. If Juventus aren't careful, they are going to run into a problem they are having at Barcelona. So listen, I think that's a tough one because there were a lot of holes that Juventus had, and it's now taken Andrea Pirlo to arrive to rip off the Band-Aid. It was an old team. And I don't know if that's what Senzo's sort of saying. If nobody saw it last night, 2-2, Cristiano Ronaldo at the age of, he's turning 36 this year. He looks like he's 21. His header, by the way, Cristiano Ronaldo, that is, no, Tammy Abraham is 21. And he couldn't do that. He doesn't have that number one. By the way, heading is an attitude thing because it hurts and it's dangerous. It's dangerous to get up there. Cristiano Ronaldo's ability, right? The technique is silly. But then the desire to get up there and get hammered by defenders. Because in Italy, they defend. It's not England or Germany. The defenders defend. You've got elbows in your ribs. You think you're going to go up against an Italian defender, whether they're playing the 20th team or you're playing against Inter Milan, you're going to get elbows in your ribs. In Italy, they love defenders more than they love strikers. The heroes are, think of who the heroes are. Don't want to spoiler. Maldini, Nesta, Cannavaro. The only defender to ever win, right? The World Player of the Year is who? Cannavaro. The Italians love defenders. Ronaldo's still doing that. Anyway, my point is, Senzo, I see what you're saying. If you're talking about the age of the squad and they haven't rotated, you know what? I think Pirlo will get this season to rip the Band-Aid off. The team's too old. It's too old. They've been successful for so long. And sometimes, folks, we all do this all the time as people. Organizations are no different. BlackBerry, Nokia, Kodak, they all fell. Why? Is they failed to see their own problems. And we're always the last to see our own blind spots. And Juventus, they just believe for so long. This is where you separate good from great. Ferguson, Mourinho, Belichick. It's the ability to shed your skin and go, all right, even when we're winning, we're not perfect. And Juventus haven't done that. So, Senzo, I'm not sure if you're referring to that, but Juventus, listen, last night's performance, I saw about 15 minutes. Ugh. If you don't have CR7 there, you have a problem. But once again, this season, Pirlo, folks, it's important in life. When you got problems, you know what you do? Personal, professional, rip off the Band-Aid. The longer you let things fester, and Juventus probably did that, and it's a miracle what Allegri did, but Juventus did it for too long. Rip off the Band-Aid now. Juventus, if they don't do it this season, I agree, they got problems. They got, as they say on the streets, they got problems. They got problems. Lefika Marube has said 100 points has become the EPL standard for the title. Nobody is interested in what Cavalry City still has coming back if they're going to drop points before Christmas. It's an interesting one. You know, sometimes we become prisoner of the moment of 20, where are we now? 1992. So that makes it 28 seasons. This will be. We've had 2 times where we've gotten near 100 points. Right? So we've had 100 points once. We've had 100 points once. So let's not make that the rule. That's 2 times out of 10 or out of 28. What is that? I don't even want to work out the percentage there. My mathematics is so bad, but it's a single percentile. We all know that. It's not the rule. I think you'll see that even out. As with anything in life, I think the last 2 seasons are more of an anomaly than the rule. Because it tells you it's under 10%. Well, I mean, what is that? It's like 7, just below 8%. Just worked it out in my... Listen, this big head isn't just here to hold water. I think it's just below 8%. So less than 8% of the seasons have been won with less than 100 points. But by the way, we've only had 100 points in the league once. Just Man City. Nobody else has ever done it. What are you doing? Claiming that Liverpool got 100 points last season? They did not. They fell short of that. What do they get? 99, huh? So I don't know, Lafika. I think because you Liverpool fans are now trapped, prisoners of the moment, let's just keep some perspective. Things always go back. This is why I love statistics. Men lie, women lie. You know what numbers don't do? Numbers don't lie. I think we'll start to see it even out. We'll probably see, I predict this season, 85 points, 85 to 88 will be enough to win you the league. I think Liverpool will erode. I think nobody else is ready to really make the charge. And I think City will do enough once the cavalry returns. And by the way, City just signed, I forget the lad's name from Benfica, 58 million. They ain't going to have these problems. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Leicester were good last night, but I think Pep will be fine. I think, so write it down. I said between 85 and 88 points. Let me get off the fence. 88 points will be enough to win you the Premier League. I don't think we'll see 100 points for a wee while yet. There's too much competition. Wolves are too good now, right? Spurs are too good now. Leicester are too good now. You're going to see, and Liverpool will erode. Remember, I'm sticking to my guns. I don't want anybody saying hindsight. Third or fourth, and Liverpool to fight for a fourth place spot, by the way. I said it here. You heard it here first. I know everybody's on the train that they're going to dominate, but I see erosion already with the fatigue. Van Dijk already. I haven't seen this many mistakes in him ever. He's made more mistakes in the last 2 games that I've seen him make in the erosion. Winning is hard. Winning is hard. Mentally, it erodes people. Winning spaces, corrosive. Lefika Morobe, he's sticking to his guns. I'm saying Liverpool, if they make top 4, lucky. Lucky. Top 3, okay, maybe third. But I don't see them getting 100 points. I don't see anybody getting 100 points this season. The league's too good. I mean, you saw a good Brighton now. Look how good West Ham are. Leeds should have beaten Liverpool. That's not an anomaly. And we've seen now. Listen, that Liverpool performance against Arsenal in the Charity Shield, that seems to be the thing now. And also, take into account the physical erosion that Liverpool will suffer. 2 hardcore seasons where you're pressing on 3 fronts. That's tough. And it's the same squad. Jurgen doesn't keep a big squad. So you might see a few more guys physically break down now. I'm not saying I hope that. I'm just telling you what could happen, because the cycle in Premier League football is 3 seasons. And Liverpool are in that 3rd season where in the 3rd season you fall off a cliff unless you're Man United under Fergie. And that's only happened twice. Folks, Liverpool-Arsenal, 13 minutes away. Cannot wait to watch. By the way, sport@cliffcentral.com. Remember to push this button. Thumbs up emoji. That pushes us up the rankings. Tomorrow, one of my school alumni, one of the greatest triathletes, the world has. An absolute demon of a man. Matt Troutman's with us tomorrow. That'll be great fun. Cannot wait about that. Alex Fuller, our number 1. By the way, did you know we have the 36th ranked squash player in the world? Alex Fuller, she'll join us Wednesday. We've got 2 great guests coming up. 2 great guests coming up. But for tonight, Liverpool-Arsenal, cannot wait. By the way, my prediction, 4-1 Liverpool. 4-1 Liverpool. That is my prediction. I think Sadio Mane is going to be demolition. I don't think Rob Holding can deliver. But for tonight, you could have been anywhere with anybody. Sport@cliffcentral.com. Whatever your comments are, whatever you got to say. Listen, good and bad. I'm trying to exercise self-awareness in 2020. It's my year of self-awareness. I've got to break out of my shell. The world isn't just about me. My ex-girlfriend used to say, you make it all about you. That's why she's my ex, and I'm all alone, and I'm sad. I cry into my pillow at night. So help me by emailing me, sport@cliffcentral.com. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? What more do you want? What do you want different? What are the suggestions you can make? I'm looking to improve always. I'm always looking to improve. You could have been anywhere tonight with anybody, but you chose us. Cliff Central, Big Shot Media, myself, and a man who will be leaving us soon, by the way. So these are our last 3 shows with a very special man who helped us build the show. So tomorrow, let's give him some love. Dave LaRue is on his way out, folks. It's a sad moment for the show. Sad. I'm not going to cry on camera because I'm not Oprah. David LaRue has been phenomenal for us. So we'll have 2 more days with Dave. The honor of having him with us. That's going to be awesome. 4-1, I said. You could have been anywhere with us. You chose to be with us. For tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I am MKT. This is the MKT Show, and that is the show.